So when's Jim Harbaugh going to be hired? Am I right? Welcome in Orange and Blue today. We got plenty of time to talk about the coaching search, which may be one man, maybe up to him. And, well, of course, the Walton Penner Group for dealing out a bunch of money for one Jim Harbaugh. Is that a week from today? Maybe. Yeah, it could happen really quickly. These things come together with these type of business people, and they don't mess around. There's nothing they need to wait for. There's nothing they need to like double check for. They do need to go through and work through the Rooney Rule, which has always been something the NFL hasn't gotten right. Let's say that, because you'd like to see it actually mean what it's supposed to mean instead of just, oh, we got to interview a minority so we can check that box. Like, no, real opportunity. But either way, getting off track because we don't yet know if Jim Harbaugh is going to be the next head coach of the Denver Broncos, but signs are pointing that way. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Andrew Mason is listening to Jerry Rosburg proselytize go on and on and on, which he does, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine with Jerry Rosburg, totally fine with it. Wouldn't mind if he was a special teams coach. Honestly, if Jim Harbaugh is your head coach, Jerry Rosburg might stick around as your special teams coach. No, I'm not going to go on and on about how he deactivated Montreal Washington. Good. I'm just going to say special teams looked much better. I was even getting messages on Facebook yesterday, which I rarely check. I usually use it for my business, but I rarely check my messages on Facebook. But people were like, stop being a jerk about Montreal Washington. I was perplexed and shocked and dismayed that people would say, like, why do you say that about a fifth-round pick? I'm not going to just blow bubbles at every pick the Broncos make. If it's a bad pick, I'll say it's a bad pick. Doesn't mean I'm right about every pick. Doesn't mean whatever. Hell, I thought Carlos Henderson might have a shot to do something, and he didn't do anything in this league. So it's not about me. It's about doing what's right for the Denver Broncos. And what's right is that old school, hey, it's actually football. It's really football that they're practicing. It's really football that they're doing. They have a head coach to tell Russ what to do. And Russ will listen. These misconceptions about Russell Wilson won't listen, and he's a me guy. Honestly, I kind of wish he was a little more of that. And he's just not. But if you let him freewheel and do whatever you want, because Russ, are you okay? Are you fine, Russ? Am I your best friend, Russ? How's Sierra, Russ? How you doing, Russ? You feel good, Russ? How's your office, Russ? Is it warm enough? Do you need to turn the heater up? Like, seriously, that's all Nathaniel Hackett did, was just kiss the ass of his quarterback, and hey, it didn't work. Shocker. But when you have a coach who comes in and says, do this, Russell Wilson is a good soldier. He's going to say, yes, sir, no, sir, right away, sir, yes, sir. And that's what he's going to do. And guess what he did yesterday? He did that. Guess what the Broncos did? And I'm not in it for moral victories. The refs are god-awful in this league. I have covered football professionally full-time and no other side job since 2007. I've been on the air since 2003. I've watched football my entire life. I've never seen the officials this bad. Okay? They're awful. They are terrible. And I don't know what it's going to take when you pay $200,000 a year for part-time officials. I know he's a lawyer Monday through Friday, but on the weekends, he gets to play a referee. That's bull, shut your mouth. Bullpucky, whatever I got to say. Like, these refs are awful. They cost the Broncos the game. You can say the Chiefs played down to the Broncos. Fine. I'll entertain that. You can say, the Chiefs just kind of fell asleep, whatever. But we've seen 2 games now where the Broncos have been able to hang. And in this last contest, the OPI and Cortland Sutton, Michael Irvin would have never been able to play in this league today, right? If they're calling OPI like that, offensive pass interference. Michael Irvin, Hall of Famer, the playmaker, he would not have been able to play in the NFL. He pushed off all the time, like all the time. Hell, they might have made some of these push-off rules because of Michael Irvin from back in the 90s. But either way, like, that play robbed the momentum the Broncos had. And I'm not a moral victory guy. I do like some of the things we saw yesterday from the Denver Broncos. I'm not a blame the refs guy, because good teams overcome bad officials. But the Broncos aren't a good team. They're trying, man, and they're fighting. And you saw that from Kareem Jackson, from Cortland Sutton. You saw some of that heart. There are others, plenty of others out there fighting for this team, fighting for each other, fighting for their teammates. They still haven't given up. I know Christmas, it was different, and the Rams and Baker Mayfield, and they got their ass kicked and waxed or whatever you want to say. Their ass waxed? I don't know. But either way, like, okay, I get all that. But what I saw yesterday was a team that's backing Russ, was a team that's backing each other, was a team that when you actually coach them and tell them what to do, they will listen. They're coached well on defense. Jaira Evero, maybe he can stick around. That'd be nice, depending on who the head coach is, what kind of defense coordinator he wants, all those sorts of things. But they're coached very well on the defense. Yesterday, special teams was much better and market improvement. And it's not just the Montreal Washington thing, which, again, I could do 3 hours on that. I won't. I'll save it. Again, people getting all mad. Like, well, I'm just going to call it like it is. If they have a bad pick, I'm not going to blow bubbles like pretty much everyone else does. Okay. I don't know. It's day 3 of the draft. I'm just going to say it's a good pick. And what a player for the Broncos. Like, Russell Wilson is a scout, bro. He should not be in there picking players. And we saw the difference yesterday. But when the offense is well coached, you see it. Latavius Murray can run the rock. I like what they did with Chase Edmonds yesterday. And I understand Chase Edmonds has always been the flash and no substance guy because he's done this before. I watched him at the Senior Bowl. Like, he flashes and he gets banged up. But I'm reworking his deal. I'm keeping him around, trying to keep Latavius Murray around if you can. Javonte coming back healthy, probably middle of the year. Javonte Williams may never be the same again. I'm also drafting a young back somewhere day 3, and you can find day 3 starters. Isaiah Pacheco, 7th round pick. Need I say more? Either way, I like what I saw from the Broncos. I hate the stupid refs. The refs were awful. And the Russell Wilson play, like, seriously, try that to Tom Brady. Just try it. Try to body slam Tom Brady and see if you don't get fined. Hell, you probably get kicked out the game. I know it was the last drive, whatever. But, like, you try that with Tom Brady. Try it with Aaron Rodgers. Try it with even Josh Allen. And I know Chris Jones could body slam Josh Allen. Not many people can. Try it with Joe Burrow, right? Joey B playing against the Bills tonight. Should be a great game. Try that to Pat Mahomes. If you were to do that same exact play, except it's DJ Jones instead of Chris Jones, and it's Pat Mahomes instead of Russell Wilson, that's a flag. That's a fine. That's someone maybe getting kicked out. I mean, that's just everything. It's supposed to be about player safety. Russell Wilson already concussed, and God bless America. Listen, I'm not even the biggest Russell Wilson fanboy. I'm the guy that he puffed up to at the Senior Bowl because I asked if he wanted to come to Denver and back up Tim Tebow, and he stood out of his chair and told me I'm going to be known as a passer and not a runner. And he was shorter than me, and I was like, oh, hey, never had that happen. I've interviewed 1,000 players, 10,000 players, whatever the number is. I've never had a player puff up to me except for Russell Wilson. So I tell you this as someone who's not a Russell Wilson fanboy. The dude's got heart. His old teammates may hate him. Richard Sherman hates him. Marshawn Lynch hates him, allegedly, or whatever I have to say. Like, okay, Doug Baldwin hates him. Okay, yeah, fine. But I see a guy out there that was fighting. He's going to rework everything in the offseason. Good, he needs to. I don't think it's like, stop trying to be a celebrity. He already is. His wife's an international celebrity. You're going to tell that to Tom Brady and his former wife? Like, come on, let's get the narratives right, okay? Let's stop with all the BS. Stop with the spin and state-sponsored corporate media, like the spin. Oh, the Broncos are okay. Like, no, there's a ton of problems with this team, but I see fight. I see life. I see hope with this Broncos team. It makes me feel good, man. And maybe that I'm a moron for even thinking about hope with this incarnation and Russell Wilson and how many people on Twitter, which is the most awful thing ever, by the way. It has nothing to do with Elon Musk. If you were buying into the Twitter narrative, if you think you're a big deal because you have tens of thousands of followers on Twitter, you, sir, are a moron, or madam. You're a moron. Why? Because Twitter's irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. From a radio or podcasting perspective, it's like 3% of our audience. So it's a very low, vocal minority, very small group of people that are super loud, and whatever's trending is not actually trending. Go talk to real people, okay? So when I get Twitter response from people and they're like, you're letting Russell Wilson off the hook, shut the hell up. Okay. Like, do you even watch football? Seriously. Russell Wilson can't play. That's stupid hot take radio, and it's garbage and it's nonsense, and I will not allow it when I've got a microphone in front of me. Okay? And that's the great thing about doing the show with Mace. We're just going to tell you the truth. Okay? You want to hear a hot take of Russell Wilson is the biggest problem and Russell Wilson sucks. You're not going to hear that here. Because I saw a guy that's fighting. He's fighting. Is he somewhat thought of as fake? Yes. Is he not relatable talking about his 2 chefs and his 15 bathrooms? Yes. Does he need to fix these things? Yes. But I saw a guy that cares about his teammates. I saw a guy that was fighting. And he feels it, man. You saw him choked up. And I don't mind. I'm not one of those old school, like, you're a wuss. Almost said something else. You're a wuss if you're crying. No, I think that's like the 70s mentality, honestly. Like, now I don't want a guy that's crying all the time, but know how much to feel and when to feel. That's emotional control. As a man, that's emotional control. As a football player, there are sometimes it's going to make you cry. There's sometimes it's going to make you feel. And knowing Russell Wilson kind of the way I do and having the history I do with Russell Wilson. Again, I'm not a Russell Wilson fanboy. He cares and he hears it, man. This is hurting him. This is hurting him. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. Like, he's been through some stuff personally, losing a parent, something that I've experienced as well. He's never been through this professionally. He's never been this in his football career. In his football career, he's been the man. Most of the time, has he ever been elite or what in the hell truly is elite? These are all conversations. Is he Hall of Fame or Hall of Very Good? Okay, that's a conversation. I think it's dumb, but it is a conversation. We can have those type of conversations. But damn it, I watch that guy, and I hear the national audience and the national media, and Russell Wilson's like, you don't know football, okay? And know and understand that in media today, there are a lot of things that are misconceptions for you. And I'm not just talking about football. But the misconceptions are put out there so that they can run with a narrative so that you will watch, and your job is to get people to react to you. I remember Big Fella telling me years ago, and yes, that's right, Big Al told me years ago, you don't want everyone to love you. You want people to react to you. And that's fine. I get that. But we're only going to tell the truth on this show. And I saw Russell Wilson fighting, and I appreciate that fight. I appreciate Andrew Mason joining us, jumping on board today. Mace, we got a lot to get to in a little bit of time. So I feel today is game recap. We're going to talk about Jim Harbaugh and probably be doing a show on Monday about Jim Harbaugh. Hell, might be at a press conference on Monday about Jim Harbaugh. But anyway, that's coming. But I just had to rant and rave and yell because, damn it, I saw some fight yesterday, Mason. It felt good.
Yeah, I saw fight up and down the roster. I mean, and not just fight, like, watch the way everyone around Russell Wilson reacts when he gets into the end zone on that first touchdown that he had. Watch everybody running to him. There, Dave Willey of CBS 4 had a video that he posted on social media, and guys and what guys were saying. I mean, that was a different team. That was a different team with a different mindset and a different motivation, and it's hard to not put a lot of that on the Rosberg effect. I mean, I think the Rosberg effect on this team is very real. But part of the Rosberg effect is that he's going to downplay his own contribution to it, because when that was brought up at the end of his press conference today, he downplayed it. He's like, no, the players, they're playing hard for each other, not for me. They're playing hard for the fans, not for me. Yep. I mean, this is just, I mean, sometimes I'm like, man, is this for real? Because this is pretty incredible. We've seen something transformative in the last week. And yeah, Jerry Rosberg isn't going to be the next head coach of the Denver Broncos, but you mentioned Jim Harbaugh. And we know that Jerry Rosberg has a deep connection to the Harbaugh family going all the way back to the 1980s. Would it surprise you at all if Jim Harbaugh becomes the Broncos coach and his first move is keeping Jerry Rossberg around in some fashion. I would not be surprised to see that at all. And that would be wonderful because Jerry Rossberg having influence has made this team a better team.
Yes. And they've made it that team. These players are good. We've said it on this show. For everyone that's saying the Broncos suck and Russell Wilson sucks, like, you're all wrong. Stop with that garbage. It's just nonsense. I will not entertain it. We will not entertain. I'll speak for you, Mace. We will not entertain it on this show because, damn it, the talent has been there to compete. How many one-score losses? Is it 8, right? 8 one-score losses? You're telling me this team sucks?
9.
Went 9 times, Bueller. 9 times. You're telling me this team sucks when there are that many one-score losses in a league where it's an oddly shaped football for a reason. I enjoyed seeing the effort yesterday. I'm not a moral victory guy, but damn it, that effort was good.
Yeah, and not only was the effort better, but the entire operation was more crisp, right? I mean, special teams. Okay, there was a mistake on the opening kickoff return. Marlon Mack fields it deep. And it was almost like the first 10 minutes of the game, you kind of felt, oh, nothing's going to change, right? Because because Marlon Mack fields the kickoff deep. The poor guy pulls his hamstring on the return. Yet another pulled hamstring for this team this year.
Right.
And then Kansas City, after the Broncos go 3-and-out, Kansas City scores and takes the lead. But then we saw resilience on the road. It's different on the road than at home. Yes, the Broncos had that comeback against Kansas City 3 weeks earlier when they trailed 27-0 and fought back. But this one, this was different. When they played Kansas City in Denver in December, I didn't get the sense the Broncos really could win that game. I thought that ultimately it might come down to Patrick Mahomes with a late game drive, but that the Chiefs were going to win that game. Cecil, I really thought the Broncos were going to win that game yesterday. Mm-hmm. I did. I thought that, and yes, that horrible, shambolic, craptacular, terrible call for OPI on Cortland Sutton. Yeah, that was a game changer. But you know what? It was a turning point, and then these Broncos had enough resilience and fight in them to turn it back to where they had control of the run of play and had a chance to win. I mean, and that says a lot about the character, the resolve of everybody in there. And look, there are going to be changes to the roster in the offseason. And yeah, there are areas of the roster that certainly need some work, but
sure,
that was a spirited and professional effort from a team that 7 days earlier, frankly, was unprofessional. And that was part of what got Nathaniel Hackett fired. It changed 180 degrees in 7 days. Tip the cap to everyone for their efforts yesterday. There are no moral victories, but you can be proud of what you do, even in defeat. That team can be very proud, and they can hold their heads high because they did their best. Like coaching and in athletics, it's all about are you the best version of yourself that you can be, right?
Right.
Were you all that you could be? Did you maximize that? Did you leave everything out there? They left everything on that field. And they maximized who and what they were.
They did.
I mean, I think that I just wish they could have found a way to win. I thought they deserved to win. Maybe I'm a little biased watching this team week in and week out for years, but I thought the Broncos deserved to win that game.
Well, and I'm never a blame the refs guy, but Michael Irvin could have never played in this league if that was the case. And also that slam, you're getting body slammed. Russell Wilson's getting body slammed, and they don't call a flag. I thought it's all about player safety. Oh yeah, I forgot the NFL lies. Anything the NFL says they care about, they don't really care about.
Always focus on what they do, not what they say.
Yep. And if Pat Mahomes gets body slammed like that, or Tom Brady gets body slammed like that, They're throwing a flag. And I don't care that he's a rushing quarterback.
Mahomes did. There is a point. Mahomes
They bumped him. They bumped him.
He got thrown to the ground against Houston a few weeks earlier, and
that one, yeah.
Okay, but what it tells you is how inconsistent it is, and we talk about things being of a professional standard. So that could, again, a bigger discussion. Should you have full-time officials? Well, I get the whole argument that, okay, what are they going to do? Well, I'll give you something to do. Let's have a developmental league where every NFL team has a developmental affiliate playing in the offseason, okay? A 7-on-7 league, whatever, and actually have developmental games going on at other ports on the calendar. Yeah, you know what? We'll give all the refs something to do. We'll let them ref there too, right?
Yep. Let them ref in the XFL, whatever, if you're going to have them as your minor league. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever it takes. You know, there are ways to make this thing work. I mean, you know, and you and I are both in agreement. We do. The NFL does need some form of minor league at some point. I mean, it's a joke that every other sport has a developmental system. I mean, even in Major League Soccer now, there's MLS Next Pro. Every team has its own developmental team. All right, you telling me you can't do that in the NFL? Give me a break.
Right.
Give me a break.
When they're fat hogs, as Mark Cuban would always say.
Yes.
It's like, go out. And it's not college football anymore. They used to joke around and be like, haha, we got it for free. It's college football is a different game. It's a different game. And that's why I say, if you're a college football analyst, and no, I'm not talking about Joel Klatt, but I think Joel Klatt's the best college football analyst there is. Mm-hmm. But if you're a college football analyst, you're not a draft expert, because those are two different things. College football is completely different from watching for pro skills that will translate to the pro game.
Well, let's just take the playoff, and let's take the quarterbacks, for example. Oops, as I kind of jostle my camera.
Glad you're wearing pants.
Yeah. Hey, well, I mean, I'm down here. I'm in the little media bunker here at UCL Training Center. But college football playoff, the teams that won, Georgia and TCU. Congratulations. Tip the cap. The two quarterbacks that are going to be the best pros of the four in those games are J.J. McCarthy and C.J. Stroud. With all respect to Max Duggan, all respect to Stetson Bennett, the better pro players are the ones at quarterback who lost those games.
Right.
And that's just one example. Okay, so that's, you know, it's a different sport. And all the respect in the world to college football, but it translates less and less.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. As it's gone on and it's changed, it's translated less and less to the pros. But so much heart and fight from player Kareem Jackson, you know, one of the players I wrote about yesterday, like just what he's done. So let's tie a quick bow, and I hate to do that because that game has so much. We can take so much from it. We'll get to more of it tomorrow, but I definitely want to get to what you wrote about Jim Harbaugh. And now the newest reports, the newest rumblings coming out from the Athletic saying like it's a done deal if he gets a pro offer. But Tybo on yesterday real quick. We got more tomorrow, but like let's get to that Harbaugh piece, man.
Yeah, no doubt, because now it's starting to be, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Because there were reports yesterday that the Broncos have reached out to representatives of Jim Harbaugh. I think it's very safe to say that Jim Harbaugh is high on the Broncos list. I don't know that he is the top name right now because they haven't even done an interview at this point. But when you listen to what Greg Penner talked about last week about culture building, about leadership, he's talking about CEOs. And I mentioned that in my piece that Jim Harbaugh checks the boxes of what you're looking for. Even when you're maximizing the offense and the quarterback. Well, hey, let's look back at what he did in San Francisco. Alex Smith was kind of a broken quarterback when he got a hold of him. Mm-hmm. And Alex Smith takes the 49ers to the NFC Championship game. Look at he split. And if not for Colin Kaepernick doing even better when he came in the following year when Alex Smith was hurt, Smith might have had a long run as the 49ers quarterback. But it's, you can be very good and then somebody's better, and then Colin Kaepernick was better. So they made that move. And certainly they made the championship game the following season. What happened with Alex Smith in Kansas City does not happen without Jim Harbaugh working with Alex Smith in San Francisco.
Right.
So this is what you start kind of going through what the Broncos need, and it does include somebody to maximize a quarterback who appears not broken, but in need of some fine tuning. Then Harbaugh fits the bill. And you know what? If Russ, as Russ is kind of looking over everything about himself, I think Russ is probably going to be a very teachable and amenable to what Jim Harbaugh is going to show him. And if not, you know what? They'll find somebody else. But I have no doubt that whether it's Russell Wilson as the quarterback in 24, if the Broncos pick up the future, have him on the team for the fifth day of the league year and pay him $37 million more, whether it's Russell Wilson in 24 or somebody else in 24, I have no doubt the Broncos, if they have Jim Harbaugh, will win. They'll do well. At minimum, they'll be competitive. And I have no doubt that they'll do that in 2023 as well. That's just Jim Harbaugh's MO is wherever he goes, he makes the place better. He raises the standard. He asks a lot, but he'll get a lot.
I still want a young backup quarterback, but if you got Jim Harbaugh, you could get Josh Johnson because he played with him for the Toreros at the University of San Diego. Not San Diego State, but San Diego Toreros.
The non-scholarship San Diego Toreros of the Pioneer Football League. Mm-hmm. Think about that. I mean, that basically FCS is kind of weird because at the top of FCS are programs like North Dakota State that could easily go to FBS and be very competitive. At the bottom of FCS are non-scholarship schools that are actually closer to Division III than Division II.
Right.
And that's where Josh Johnson was, and he flourished. And Jim Harbaugh took a good program and went 11-1 in back-to-back years. And then he got to Stanford, where they were coming off of 1-11 under Walt Harris. And 3 years later, they're in a bowl. 4 years later, they set a school record for wins. Then he goes to San Francisco, 8 straight losing seasons when he arrives, 3 straight appearances in the conference championship game. And then he goes to Michigan. They'd had a couple of basically seasons right around 500 before he got there. It took a little longer at Michigan, but part of that was there was a significant gap that had to be bridged between Michigan and Ohio State. Ohio State really the closest thing to an SEC program outside of the SEC. And he bridged that gap. I mean, Ohio State and Michigan are on level terms right now. That's because of Jim Harbaugh. So, but that being said, even though the national championship is something that powers him and he's motivated for that, I think what he really wants is that Super Bowl. He wants that Lombardi trophy. And he came so close. I mean, think about it. Not only did he come close.
As a player, he came close.
Yeah, captain comeback. Right?
Yeah, it had that pass hit. I can't remember the receiver, but he was laying on his back in the end zone against the Steelers. The ball hit him in the chest.
Pathon, maybe? I'm not sure.
It was 80. It was 80. It might have been Pathon, but like the Hail Mary from captain comeback, dude hits him in the chest in the end zone, and he dropped it.
So the Hail Mary from being in the Super Bowl as a player and then going to the Super Bowl as a coach, the blackout game, a bizarre game, right?
Very much so, yeah.
And losing it to your brother, to your big brother. I mean, man, that's got to fuel you. I mean, I can see why. Like Jeremy points out, unfinished business in the comments. Yes,
I love it.
Very much unfinished business for Jim Harbaugh. Now that being said, we mentioned Indianapolis. If Denver wants Jim Harbaugh, the Broncos will not be the only suitor. And Indianapolis is at the top of the list for competition. And okay, we know that the Broncos have unlimited resources, right? They can outbid anybody. But Jim Irsay is not poor either. Jim Irsay is a guy who drops millions of dollars on rock and roll memorabilia. Doesn't he still own the original copy of On the Road, but the original manuscript of On the Road by Jack Kerouac? And he paid a bunch for that. Jim Irsay is not shy about throwing around money to get what he wants. And obviously he has a deep fondness for Captain Comeback Jim Harbaugh. And certainly Harbaugh has a fondness for the Indianapolis Colts as well. Because that's, even though he only played 3 years, that's the team with which he's most associated and remembered. So I don't want if Broncos country is excited about Jim Harbaugh, it's fair, but there are a lot of moving parts, and there's also the Sean Payton possibility as well. It's best to cultivate multiple options here if you're the Broncos, and on top of that, most years there's always there's a surprise firing at the end of the season. So the landscape may look a little different now than it does today. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
There might be 2 Harbaughs available, so we'll see.
Did you see any of the comments among Ravens fans last night? That is a fan base that's not happy with John Harbaugh right now.
Not at all. Not at all whatsoever. Lose that game to the Steelers. They're still going to the postseason. But we saw it with Mike Mularkey. Mike Mularkey won a game against Kansas City that they probably shouldn't have, and they still fired him.
The Mariota comeback, I remember it well. That was, you know, the high point of a star-crossed career that sadly has never been the same since that horrific leg injury that he had early in his career. But he's even after the injury, he was still capable of that one burst of greatness. Mariota's a what-if guy for me, by the way.
Yeah, it's like David Carr. I can always tell how much someone knows about football based on their opinion on David Carr. Because if you say David Carr sucks, I go, oh, you don't know. Like, okay.
You don't know what the two of us know.
I am a football snob.
As Jim Mora used to say, you think you know, but you don't know.
Oh, Jim Mora it's more than just playoffs too. He had so many. We sucked. Like he had so many great sayings. Man.
It's you think you know. It's we suck. It's we didn't do diddly poo out there. Diddly poo is in my vernacular because of Jim Harbaugh. Because it works on radio. Because there are certain things you can't say, but I can say diddly poo on the air, and I do say diddly poo on the air. There's another one. One of my favorites. They played the 49ers in 1987, and it's the year the Saints emerged finally their first winning season after 20 seasons at 500 or worse. And they play the Niners, and they lose close at home. I think Morton Anderson, the Hall of Famer, missed a field goal at the end that could have won it. And a lot of Saints fans gave a standing ovation, like, "Hey, you went toe-to-toe with the 49ers." And he got it after the game, and he didn't rip the fans, but he was upset. He's like, we got a long way to go. We came close, and close don't mean bleep. Jim.
In a time when coaches didn't talk like that publicly.
Oh, that's Jim Mora was he's still with us. Jim Mora is a fountain of sound bites. I think I saw it was recently an NFL Films feature on him. He's still as feisty as ever, that guy.
Yep.
By the way, one other cool thing, and this is about the Chiefs, but I love seeing Dick Vermeil do the bang the drum at the start of the game yesterday. That was that was really cool. Another guy who at 86 years old is still going strong.
I'll tie a bow on it this way, and you'll remember this. But Dick Vermeil was Josh Johnson's coach at the Shrine game in Houston.
Man. Oh, we just hit all the high notes. We got the Shrine. We got. Oh boy, this is. It's a good start to the new year when we're opening a show with these sorts of references here.
Right, right. It's orange and blue today. Never know where we're gonna go.
You and I, we've seen some stuff, my friend. We've seen some stuff.
That we have. We appreciate everyone out there for watching. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on Twitter at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. Don't follow me. Until next time, be safe, be kind, know that you are appreciated. Stay tuned. And as always, I want you to stay frosty.